When thinking about child stars, you often think about the dark side of the entertainment industry. It's become a pattern we've seen time and time again, where kids gain a tremendous amount of fame at a very young age, then struggle to adjust and adapt to normal life by the time they reach adulthood. In the late 90s and early 2000s, a lot of us grew up watching these child stars on networks such as Disney and Nickelodeon. From shows like The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody to Drake and Josh, a lot of us were hooked and binge watching after school and late night on weekends. From these shows, many stars made a name for themselves, from the likes of Ariana Grande and Selena Gomez. One of the biggest stars from that era was Amanda Bynes. Amanda was all over Nickelodeon during those years, being featured on the sketch comedy shows All That, as well as the game show Figure It Out. The producers at Nickelodeon liked Amanda so much that they even gave her her own show. She went on to feature in movies and TV shows as she got older. Her potential was limitless as she was a natural talent and already had accomplished so much at such a young age. But things took a dramatic turn when one day she decided to retire from the one thing she had been doing her entire life. Amanda Bynes' story begins in Thousand Oaks, California. She was the youngest of 3 children. Her father, Rick, was a dentist, and her mom, Lynn, worked alongside him as their office manager. During her early years, Amanda would often draw sketches and had aspirations of becoming a fashion designer. She was a sharp, quick-witted kid filled with personality. Her father, being a huge fan of comedy, saw that she also had a great sense of humor. She was naturally funny and did great impersonations of celebrities. With early signs of potential, her parents figured that she would be a great fit for acting. She decided to give it a try, and it turned out that she was pretty good at it. She would end up getting roles in various advertisements such as Barbie commercials and Nestle's Bunch of Crunch when she was just 7 years old. One day, her dad suggested that she do a 6-week comedy camp at LA's notorious Laugh Factory.
Amanda Bynes.
Maybe I should have skipped that 13th candy bar.
There, she was able to gain valuable experience and was able to learn from seasoned vets like Arsenio Hall and Richard Pryor. During her time at the camp, she would get scouted by Nickelodeon producers Brian Robbins and Dan Schneider. They saw talent in young Amanda and they would go on to cast her on Nickelodeon's All That. The show was essentially a kid's version of Saturday Night Live and would include a bunch of young actors who would go on to feature in much bigger films such as Nick Cannon, Kenan and Kel, and Gabriel Iglesias. Bynes would quickly develop a huge fan base while casted, and she even won a Kids' Choice Award. She became incredibly popular within the teen girl demographic and was a favorite over at Nickelodeon, so much so that the producers decided to give her own spin-off show titled The Amanda Show. The concept was similar to All That, as it was a sketch comedy show and featured many of the familiar cast members from Nickelodeon's roster, such as Drake Bell and Josh Peck. The program consisted of many classic sketches such as Judge Trudy and Block Blister, showcasing Amanda's comedic talent and her ability to bring such different characters to life.
Sit. Hello, I am Judge Trudy. Now, Jason Fema, I understand you have a complaint against your parents.
Sure do, Judge Trudy.
His complaint is ridiculous.
Did I tell you it was your turn to speak, mister? I can't keep my mouth shut.
No.
Then close your yapper flapper.
Yapper flapper.
The show became one of the network's highest rated programs and launched her even further into stardom, as she would go on to win 2 more Kids' Choice Awards. The show could have gone on for much longer, but after just 3 seasons, Amanda declined the renewal so she could pursue other endeavors, stating, "I didn't want to be a Nickelodeon kid when I was 30, she explained. "I was having fun, but at 15, you don't want to be doing what you did when you were 12. It was around this time when Amanda started seeking legal emancipation from her parents. According to sources, her father, Rick, was very controlling and called all the shots regarding her career and estate. Of course, many teen girls feel like their parents are controlling, and for most, yelling and slamming the door would be the typical course of action. But for young kid stars seeking to assert their independence, calling their attorneys, and seeking a divorce from mom and pop isn't all that far-fetched. She was even spending a lot more time at Nickelodeon producer Dan Schneider's home, along with his wife, Lisa Lillian. She was spending a lot of time with us, Lillian told People magazine, but she never left her family's house. This was the first sign of trouble that was to come. Soon after the end of The Amanda Show, Bynes would get her first good look at the big screen in the movie Big Fat Liar. The film was met with mixed reviews, but overall people seemed to really love it, as it raked in $53 million at the box office. The film would also earn Amanda her first Teen Choice nomination. Coming off the success of the film, she was offered a lead role in Warner Brothers' new sitcom titled What I Like About You. In this show, she plays the role of Holly, who moves in with her older sister, played by Beverly Hills 90210's Jenny Garth. The show did relatively well, as it would pull in about 2 million views per week and hit hit home with Amanda's demo. While on the show, she would continue to stay busy as she would be casted on the Denny Gordon film What a Girl Wants in 2003. In this film, she plays a quirky 17-year-old girl who sets out to find her father just to find out that he's a British aristocrat running for office. The film did alright, but it still ended up outselling her previous flick. Her momentum snowballed as she went on to do voiceovers for the classic animated film Robots in 2005 and would also star in the movie Love Wrecked alongside Chris Carmack that same year. Around this time while filming, Bynes lost a ton of weight. She wasn't feeling well and often felt nauseous while on set. The source of her issue turned out to be mononucleosis. She got all the way down to 100 pounds. Even though she didn't feel well and was super underweight, her mother actually saw her thin physique as a positive and told her she never looked better. This would obviously plant the seed in young Amanda's head, and from then on, she strived to be skinny. Not to mention during this time, the skinny girl look was trending as other famous celebrities such as Nicole Richie and Paris Hilton were flaunting insanely skinny physiques. With all of this brewing, Amanda became obsessed with her appearance and soon developed body dysmorphia. She even attributed her desire to stay skinny to be a major cause for some of her bad habits. In an interview with Paper Magazine, she recalls reading an article in a magazine about the new skinny pill, and they were talking about how women were taking it to stay thin. I was like, well, I have to get my hands on that. The skinny pill Amanda's referring to in this quote is Adderall. Adderall is a medication used prescribed to those who are diagnosed with ADHD. It allows such individuals to focus better and aid their inattention. And although the drug has its benefits, it also has a high risk for substance abuse, and far too common, people fake symptoms in order to get prescribed, which is what Amanda did. This would mark the beginning of her potential downfall. 2006, Bynes would co-star in the film She's the Man alongside Channing Tatum. In the film, Amanda would play Viola Johnson, who comes up with a scheme to pose as her twin brother Sebastian and take his place at a new boarding school. The film did well as it went on to gross $57 million at the box office, and some would say this was Amanda's breakout role. She showcased her comedic background and overall did a phenomenal job. Now, although the film was successful and many were praising her performance, for Amanda, this film would actually lead her down a dark path, causing her to spiral out of control. In an interview with Paper Magazine, she stated, "When the movie came out and I saw it," she says, "I went into a deep depression for 4 to 6 months because I didn't like how I looked when I was a boy." She paused. "I've never told anyone that. Seeing herself with short hair and sideburns was a super strange and out-of-body experience. It just really put me into a funk." With Amanda already having body image and self-esteem issues, this would all but exacerbate it. Not to mention she was constantly being compared to other girls within her peer group, such as Lindsay Lohan. Lindsay at the time was being casted for edgier roles as she recently rose to stardom in the movie Mean Girls. Amanda was often typecasted for more quirky, comedic good girl roles due to her background. Shortly after the release of She's the Man, Amanda hopped right into another gig with the film Hairspray. Amanda stated that movie to this day was the most amazing experience she ever had on a set, getting the chance to sing, dance, and act alongside co-stars like John Travolta and Zac Efron. In 2009, she kept the ball rolling by signing a 2-movie deal with production company Screen Gems to film the movie Easy A, which would get released the following year. In 2010, she was casted to play Paige in the film Hall Pass with Owen Wilson, and it was around this time where her addictions really got the best of her as she was abusing her prescriptions. In an interview with Paper Magazine, she stated, "When I was doing Hall Pass, I remember being in the trailer and I used to chew the Adderall tablets because I thought they made me more high that way," she says. "I remember chewing on a bunch of them and literally being scatterbrained and not being able to focus on my lines or memorize them for that matter." Due to this, Amanda left the set on the first day and never returned due to personal issues. This was really the turning point in Amanda's career as things would only spiral from this point on. On June 19, 2010, Amanda sent out a string of tweets announcing her retirement. "If I don't love something anymore, I stop doing it. I don't love acting anymore, so I stopped doing it. I know 24 is a young age to retire, but you heard it here first. I've retired." But after about a month, she stated that she's now unretired and shared the trailer for the film Easy A. In the movie, she plays Marianne Bryant, a devout Christian girl who serves as an antagonist for the film. The movie did pretty well overall, and Amanda's performance was well received, but Amanda didn't see a way that herself. Going to see her performance, she simply hated it, stating, "I literally couldn't stand my appearance in that movie, and I didn't like my performance. I was absolutely convinced I needed to stop acting after seeing it." She continues, "I was high on marijuana when I saw that, but for some reason it really started to affect me. I don't know if it was a drug-induced psychosis or what, but it affected my brain in a different way than it affects other people. It absolutely changed my perception of things." After Easy A, Amanda would actually retire and we would never see her on the big screen again. She said after the retirement, she found herself doing nothing. After spending most of her adolescence constantly working and acting, she didn't really know what to do now. She would wake and bake, take her medication, and tweet all day long. When she wasn't sitting around doing nothing at home, she would be partying. This would lead her to a string of events where people were seriously concerned. Her first sign of trouble would come in March of 2012 when she was pulled over for talking on the phone while driving. This is typically only a $20 ticket, but after handing over her ID and waiting for the cop to run her info, she waited until the cop was about to hand her ticket before she sped off. The officer didn't pursue her because he already had her information. It was definitely an odd situation, but Amanda did go to the station later that day to sign off on the ticket. Moving on just a month later, Amanda would get pulled over at 3 a.m. after an attempt to pass a cop car. While attempting to make the pass, she sideswiped him. The officer would of course pull her over, and after refusing a breathalyzer, she was taken into custody. Bynes would get charged for drunk driving and a hit and run. Her bail was set at $5,000. From this point on, Bynes would continuously find herself in tabloids for getting in trouble and doing strange things in public. She was involved in another hit and run in May, got her license suspended, got caught driving with a suspended license, and so on and so forth. Even her appearance started to look a little shaky as she was seen out in public with her hair messed up and makeup smeared. Not only was she getting into trouble for her strange behavior in public, but also online. Bynes posted this video on Twitter back in 2013, and it obviously continued to raise concern. This, combined with her erratic tweets, had fans really questioning the state of her mental health, and with good reason. Not only did her fans and supporters believe there was something wrong, but so did the police. On July 13, 2013, Amanda was walking her dog and somehow briefly caught on fire. Regarding how she actually caught on fire was sort of a mystery, but after being apprehended by police, they determined she needed to be on a 5150 psychiatric hold. It was at this time Amanda's parents stepped in and filed for conservatorship over Amanda's person and her estate. In court papers filed by the parents, they stated that Amanda was developing worrisome behavior. They said she had become more and more paranoid about being watched by paparazzi as she was taping her windows shut and spray painting the windows black. Her parents would eventually be granted a temporary conservatorship, and Amanda would be admitted to a treatment center. Now, from 2013 to 2017, things were a complete roller coaster as she found herself in and out of her conservatorship with her parents and still struggling to keep on the straight and narrow. On September 28, 2014, she would once again get arrested for a DUI. She'd get kicked out of fashion school due to her skipping class a lot and trying to pay her classmates to do her work for her. She'd get caught on camera trying to steal from stores in New York City, and her mom would even go to court once again to file for a conservatorship to which she would be granted. 2017 is where she started to make a bit of a comeback as she would eventually get back on her feet, and she appeared looking healthy. She was able to regain control over her personal finances, and she even appeared in her first interview in 4 years, stating that she wanted to give acting another shot.
And I like to say, welcome to the show, the brand new Amanda Bynes. Hello.
Hello, how are you, Diana?
I'm so excited to see you. First of all,
so
you
excited
look
to see you.
Gorgeous.
Thank you, so do you.
But unfortunately, this comeback never happened. Things only got weirder when in 2019, she decided to share this photo on Instagram displaying a new face tattoo. On Valentine's Day of 2020, Bynes would get engaged, but then call off the engagement a year later. But things really hit rock bottom when earlier this year in 2023, Bynes would be placed on another 5150 psychiatric hold after she was found roaming the streets of LA naked and alone. It was reported that Bynes herself waved the car down and told the driver she was coming down from a psychotic episode, to where she then proceeded to call 911 herself. As of right now, Bynes appears to be still focused on her mental rehabilitation as she's been checking herself in and out of rehab facilities. Bynes was a major part of a lot of our childhoods, making us laugh and smile while growing up watching her comedic talent. We really do hope that she comes out of this okay and that she continues to seek the help that she needs.